Zay, and today I wanted to react to would a zombie apocalypse actually be a good? Would a zombie apocalypse actually be good? Sorry for adding an A. By Theo Hunt, who has 14,000 subscribers, and if you're watching this, please subscribe to him. I'm pretty sure he has something cool going on over there all the time. I like this video idea, so I've always been very invested in zombies, and I'm a giant zombie head if you know anything about me, which I know you probably don't. I am very new to the game, but I love zombies. I am an artist by trade, so I make paintings. As you can see a couple of them hanging in the background right there. I am an artist, a fine artist, if you will. I make ceramics and all this other stuff. And I actually have wrote out and made a comic about zombies in particular because I love the idea of them for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but I know there is the premise of just the survival, but there's also this hit and this jolt of extreme freedom that comes along with the zombie apocalypse or any apocalypse for that matter. There is a feeling of freedom because you're not stuck in the system anymore. You're not stuck in the 9 to 5 inside of the job system. You technically can do as you please. And that is the kind of vibe that I feel when it comes to this kind of zombie apocalypse thing. Maybe that's exactly kind of the things that he's going to be hitting on in this video. I'm not exactly sure. All I know is I'm invested already, and I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. So let's see. Yeah, let's see.
The romanticism of an apocalypse is something I'm seeing more and more as of late. People posting on TikTok or Instagram talking about how they would actually want an apocalypse to happen. But it's strange, I don't see these comments or posts about 28 Days Later or World War Z. They are normally centered around The Last of Us, which is just mental, or more commonly, The Walking Dead. And although it sounds absolute ludicrous to wish upon essentially the end,
I have never watched The Walking Dead. My dad loves The Walking Dead. I've never watched it. I don't know much about it. I know their zombies are pretty slow. They come in hordes, etc., etc. I've watched 28 Days Later, I've watched 28 Years Later, I've watched 28 Weeks Later, and I can't wait for the next one in the series that's supposed to be coming out in like 6 months. That's going to be interesting when it comes out, but I loved all of those films. I should do a review on that actually, because it was a little weird at the end there. It's weird. Maybe I should watch a video on why it was weird at the end there, because like what even happened. But way off track. All I know is that I love zombie films. I love zombie literature. If you ever get the time to do it, go on Audible and read Mountain Man. It is such a good book. Such a good book. The detailing in it just it makes my brain so happy. The way they detail things and the aspects they decide to go upon when they're writing stuff like that. I just really like it, and it's this strange sense of freedom. You can do whatever you want to. You're being chased. Sure, you're being chased. Um, but you have the option to get away. You can do what you want to. You can go where you want to. You can have fun if you want to. You can be as quiet as possible, etc., etc. These are your things, your emotions, your standards. You're setting everything. It's your rules. It's your rules to live by. Of course, there are crazy people out there still. This is still the world. And there is a more free world in this aspect because you can actually do as you want. That's what I mean by there's a crazy sense of freedom. I love that idea. You know, there's something in that that's just so nice. And if you were to actually do a reset like they did in 28 weeks later for the first part of it, where they're like, we actually did cure majority of everybody. Well, they didn't cure. We actually did, you know, like the disease died off after a few weeks, and now we can all live in harmony in this one small place. It's a reset. It's a whole reset on the system. And the people that were there before are now brand new people, if you will say so. I like that idea because they're not living by the standards anymore. They're not like succumbing to this world was just full of materialistic things, and they're trying to do other things, and I don't know. I like that. I like that aspect about it. So I should just listen to the video and stop talking. And sorry.
Humanity and civilization as we know it, I'd be lying if the thought had never crossed my mind. So, in today's video, I wanted to discuss why I think more and more people are expressing their desires for an apocalypse to happen, and what the consequences of this event would really be. I think the majority of the romanticism centered around The Walking Dead is how the world is portrayed within the show. The series is harrowing and gut-wrenching.
It's gorgeous. It's emotional. It's in the present. It's in the now. It's in the moment. A lot of people can't live in the moment nowadays. They're living in survival mode. They don't have the in the now and in the moment scenarios that most people should be having. We are humans, you know? We should be living in the now. We should be, coming home and eating dinner with our loved ones and, chit-chatting and having fun and kicking the bucket, just that's what it should be like. But it's most times not like that. It's hard to live, everybody's stressed about something, someone's crying about something else, something happened last week, stuff like this, it's hard to live in the present when you're trying to think about the future constantly. You're like, I have to pay for this bill's coming up too, I have to pay for this bill, where am I going to find the money and the time to dig out something for this bill, where am I going to find any of these things, how am I going to live in 6 months, etc., etc., where is my groceries going to come from, all that stuff. You got sick, you're in the hospital, your bill is skyrocketing high. This is US I'm talking about, of course. Your bill is skyrocketing high. That is all a problem, okay? And that's the stuckness that I'm talking about. You're stuck in that system. Everybody, we're all stuck in that system. And you're not living in the now. But in that scenario where you're in the zombie apocalypse or in any apocalypse, you're living in the now, okay? There is only now. You have 1 second to live. Every time you talk, every time you breathe, that is it for you, okay? That is when you are living, because you could die so fast and you wouldn't even realize you're dead. And that is the coolest part about it, because it's forcing you to live in the now. Whereas right now, you're forced to live in the past and in the future. You're not forced to live in the present, which is why it's so hard to cut out a second and a split moment to feel like you're living in the now. Nowadays, I think that's a giant part of why people are romanticizing these things. There is beauty in it. There is 1000% beauty in it. 10-year-old me could have said that. 12-year-old me could have said that. I have always loved zombie films. I don't know why exactly. I'm sure there's many things to pinpoint on here. I've already talked on a bunch of talking points on it. There are a lot, and I love them. Okay? The shots, the films, the music, the aspects, the scenarios, the surroundings, the environments, it's all there. It's just, I love it all.
But there are also glimpses of light and beauty within it. Take how the show is shot, especially in the early seasons. The cinematography you're seeing now feels warm and inviting, and it's quite frankly a work of art. The show manages to demonstrate just how beautiful the world really is, even if it is overrun by flesh-eating monsters. Let's take Herschel's farm, for example. Tell me, with the crickets chirping and the sun scorching down...
I'm sorry. I'm pausing it again, but yes. It's also that effect, like, wish we would have loved this thing while we still had it before, the world went to crap. Kind of that. That's the vibe I always get from these two. It's like, now it's all gone. But it also is still here. Even though most of the world can't enjoy it anymore, you're still alive, so enjoy it while you still can. And you only can live for this second, so look at that beautiful compost, that stadium, look at that beautiful swimming pool, look at it. It's pretty. Just look at it. I think that's why I kind of love the back rooms. The back rooms. It's very liminal. It's creepy, nostalgic. There's a bunch of things about it that makes it scary. It doesn't need creatures. There are creatures. It doesn't need creatures to make it feel like that. It's gorgeous in its own right, kind of. That's the vibe. And that's kind of what these feel like. When you're living inside of those moments of, well, the world has ended. I'm still here. I look over to the site and it's so gorgeous, but it's weird, it's macabre. It shouldn't be gorgeous because the world has ended. It's nostalgic, it's creepy, it's liminal, etc. It's like the same vibe, kind of. And that's what makes it so gorgeous. It's what makes it so interesting. Okay.
And as Rick and Herschel look upon the rolling hills of Georgia, that part of you doesn't want to be there. Escape out of all the chaos and stress within your life and strip back to a more basic form of living. There would be no bills or financial worries,
Exactly.
just you and the deep-rooted desire
It would feel
that lies
so
within
good.
all of us.
Like, imagine
and that is
it.
to survive.
It's the big summer sale. Shop
be
and
no
save on
stupid
styles
commercials.
made to match your summer energy.
I think there's something really
I'm kidding.
appealing in that
I'm supporting
concept
this
to
channel,
many.
that's why I'm doing
It's
it.
an escape from our monotonous and boring lives, but people forget that this would come at a grave cost.
Yes, it would. The world. That's the grave cost. It would come at the grave cost
Because
of
quite
everybody else.
frankly, this would be the reality of a zombie apocalypse. Over 99% of the population is wiped out in The Walking Dead. And if you think that you and everyone you love would be in that less than 1%, then you are either deluded or have some serious plot armor. And I think the reason no one romanticizes 28 Days Later or Train to Busan or most other zombie media is because they portray the apocalypse to be dull, depressing, and quite frankly not worth living in. The zombies in these fictional stories are terrifying and
I guess you're right, but you also have to think about the ideals that the 28 day later zombies are supposed to be replicating. They're replicating anger. They're replicating our anger in the world. They're not actually supposed to be like zombies in that way that we think about them. They are very depressing and they are very angry. The whole point of them, because it's supposed to take place in 2001. What happened in 2001? I can give you two guesses. 9/11. It was literally supposed to take over, the aspects of the hatred that people felt during that time period. Everybody was so angry, right? So they wrote these zombies, the anger. It's the angry virus that's literally, spreading throughout the world. Everybody's so angry. That is why these people are turning into zombies. It's different. It's not exactly the same as all the other zombies, I don't think. But it still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There were still beautiful moments in that film. There's sweet moments in that film. Like the daughter and the dad. That was sweet. That was a sweet moment. The love between the main character and the other character. Sweet moments. Like, there were so many soft, random moments in there. Yeah. And especially in the new film, 28 years later. There were some really pretty moments in there. I love a lot of the experimental shots. I'm good. Way off track. But what I'm not kidding on here is that I don't know. I think every film, the disparity of it all, is kind of what makes it beautiful in a way. Humans, don't forget, we really like to see depressing things. We love it. Whether we realize that or not, it's like a part of us unconsciously. Whenever you're reading the newspaper, what are you most likely to look at? The one where the dog saved a bunch of people, or the one where a house burned down and like 4 people were in it? Like, I know that one is depressing, but you're most likely going to look at that one and try and see who it was that passed. Because that's just how we are. Okay, well, let's get back on.
No sane person wishes
I'm
to
talking
even be
so
put
much.
in
I
the
got so
same
much to talk
universe as some of these creatures. But the Walking Dead zombies are slow and lethargic, after season 1 that is, And you can see yourself being able to survive in this environment. The
That's
world
true.
is full of life, and there is such an emphasis on nature and the resilience of the human spirit that although there is immense loss in this show, it almost lulls you into this false sense of comfort. And that's what makes The Walking Dead so unique. Yes, it's a story filled with death and tragedy, but ultimately there's always hope and something for our characters to fight for. I think for many, the sense of living in a totally free world where they must rely entirely on their instincts and creativity to survive, and social norms, class, and wealth all go out the window, appeals to people in a very strange way. It would be liberating and strip you back to the bare basics. You wouldn't have to go to work or go to school or do things you didn't really want to do. You'd kind of just have to wake up and survive. In reality, we only get a very short
We're already
time
doing that.
on this spinning planet, and lots of us spend it doing stuff that, in the grand scheme of things, we wouldn't choose to do unless we were forced. And that's exactly why people romanticize the apocalypse from The Walking Dead.
You wouldn't have to do
Along
crap
with
you don't
this,
want
the
to.
show's emphasis on communities and relationships, despite the chaos unfolding around them, we see our characters form tight-knit families and meaningful connections. Daryl and Rick, Maggie and Glenn, and Michonne and Carl are all perfect examples. Whether it's romantic or completely platonic, it's just heartwarming to see. And it's this emotional depth that attracts viewers to want to be a part of this fictional world. Now, I'd like to talk about my own personal experience for a minute now. Just over a year ago, I would wake up at 5 a.m. most mornings to either do the 3-hour commute to my university or to work the morning shift at my job. And quite frankly, I hated it. It was around this time I decided to watch Fear the Walking Dead for the first time. And it's in this show we meet the character of Nick Clark. He was a similar age to me, and someone I felt myself relating to in terms of their views on the world. And as I started to get increasingly burnt out from my own reality, I found myself escaping to this scenario over and over again in my head, where I'd ask myself, if the apocalypse really did happen, would it be that bad?
Love was nearly lost until Pizza Hut showed
I've hit
up.
that exact thought a billion times.
Hi, Peter.
It's not even funny.
Pizza Hut.
I'm like,
Now, the answer to that question is most definitely yes. It would be awful.
it would be
But to
so
me,
bad.
in that time frame and in that mindset, as someone who was frustrated with the way their life was going, the concept of an escape was incredibly appealing to me. That's why, to this day, Nick Clark is my all-time favourite character in all of fiction. And I understand he's not the best by the textbook, but he's my absolute favourite. And he's a big reason I even started this YouTube channel. So my point here is I understand the viewpoint of a simpler life because I've thought about it myself. And the world of The Walking Dead offers this alternate reality that people can start to romanticize. I mean, even from most animals' perspectives, an apocalypse that killed off most humans would be brilliant. Fumes, wastage, deforestation, war, global warming, it would all come to a grinding halt. And in our absence, the world would start to heal and recover from the numerous scars we've inflicted on it. Just take the global pandemic from 2020, for example.
I was literally having a talk with my friend and her mom, like, not too long ago. And they were talking about, the animals that used to live back in the days. And then we were watching a documentary, and in the documentary it said, until the animals that were born next, that ended everything. And they were talking about us, of course, so they're like these guys, they came and they basically just destroyed everything. Like, we helped a little bit, sure. We, did safe burns here and there, making sure that the place was neutralized in certain areas, but still, that's not enough. And then my friend was like, well, I think we are a staple for the world. They need us. And I was like, I do not agree. I think if the world were to go, if we were, all humans were to disappear tomorrow, this world would kill. It would start being so amazing. They do not need us. We are destroying it, if anything. This world is better without humans on it. That is my thoughts, and it will always be my thoughts. I know it is a Batman villain's thoughts, exactly, but I'm not saying it in an evil way. I'm like, that's just how it is. Like, that's a part of reality. There's plastic everywhere. I wonder why. It's because of us. There's all kinds of crazy microfibers inside of the world, and it's us. We're the problem here, okay? We're causing these things, manufacturing things and creating chemicals, compounding things that should not be out there, that, are not helping us at all, and they're not helping our animal friends or any of the grass and plants that help us survive. So I think, yeah, he's right in this aspect. I've always thought that, yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say its official name
Sorry
without
for the
being
glitch.
restricted, but the planet saw a drastic decrease in air pollution and greenhouse gases emissions in just a few short weeks. Also, the way as a race we dealt with that problem should prove to everybody that if something like a zombie apocalypse was to happen in real life, we would all be screwed. But my point is, from anything that wasn't a human and maybe some other slower moving land mammals that might also become walker lunch, the end of humanity probably wouldn't be that bad, as much as it pains me as a living human being to say that.
Yeah. It would be better without us.
Now, obviously, like previously stated, if you were lucky enough to be in the less than 1 percentile to survive, pretty much everybody
way cooler than we are. We are not.
And the trauma that would cause would be unfathomable. Most of the survivors would be wandering around as emotional, unstable wrecks, who would probably show symptoms of PTSD.
A lot.
I mean, let's just take Rick Grimes, for example. He lost his wife, his son, was forced to kill his best friend, and watched the deaths of hundreds of people he was close to and loved. And although the show does briefly touch upon his emotional state, in reality, the average person is not mentally capable of seeing all of that and remaining sane.
No.
In fact, most of us would probably resemble Clara from Season 4, Episode 1, the crazy Irish woman in the woods, rather than a character like Daryl or Rick.
Yes.
But even if you were able to cope with the sheer amount of trauma the apocalypse would provide,
majority of people haven't even experienced enough trauma in the world to actually, make it that way. If they were to see even just one thing crazy, they would not be normal after that, okay? Like, if they were to have to kill their mom, their dad, the parent, any of that stuff, that's it for them. They probably wouldn't even be able to do that. They would turn. Like, that is just how it works. Because we're not gonna do that. That's just not how most things happen. Whether we realize that or not, most people aren't like that. It is traumatic. And it's less likely to happen. Trauma would be too much, and they would most likely end up doing something that would be harmful to themselves, if you get what I mean. But yeah, that's what I think, at least. There's no way they would be stable after all of that. No. Not in the funniest part of the world.
It's the people that would thrive in this lawless environment that would be terrifying. I mean, in the show, we see antagonists like the Governor, Simon, or even Alpha.
See, from that book that I was talking about not too long ago, it was Mountain Man. I'm not even gonna go crazy on it. I'm like explaining anything crazily, but yeah, one of the characters, he thrived for a reason, and that's all I have to say. Like, he was a crazy person, and I don't mean that in like, oh, he's crazy funny. No, and I'm not even talking about anything else, not even mental illness in that way. No, it's just he is, okay? Like, it's like he's not all there. It's insane. And he probably was that way before that the zombie apocalypse ever happened. Like, that kind of thing, that's why he's thriving, and that's why he's still here. Like, because he is crazy. And he's not there's like 3 different versions of crazy I'm talking about here. No, he is something else. Okay? No, he's none of those. Whatever you're thinking right now, he's not one of those. He's the other one. The one that you probably didn't even know existed. That's what he is. Okay? Gosh.
All of whom had done heinous crimes with no repercussions in the now lawless world. But in reality, you wouldn't be living in a TV show, meaning the good guys wouldn't always win.
No.
In fact, it's the bad guys that would probably have the advantage in this type of
A
world.
lot more.
It's
than you
really
think.
sad and also quite scary to think about how people would behave in this type of environment. The people such as the governor, who is arguably the worst
There
villain
would be
in the
so many
entire show,
gangs.
would probably be
So many
commonplace
cults.
in the apocalypse.
So many families.
Dunkin' refreshments.
So many people are trying to make a go at you. They want nothing but you. And they also want to eat. They want babies. They want stuff like that still. If you get what I'm throwing out here. Like,
So yes, you might be able to deal with the slow and lethargic walkers, but the hostile groups and the trauma of losing everybody you loved would suddenly make you wish you could go back to waking up in a nice warm bed, even if it was at 5 a.m.
that's true.
Having food in the fridge and family and friends surrounding you. And I think ultimately it comes down to the grass is always greener. It's human instinct to desire what we don't have. We tend to focus way more on the negatives rather than the positives.
Exactly. The only reason we even want that to begin with, like I said in the very beginning, is because we don't have the time to focus in the now. Most people want something more than what they can get, and they can't, because they can't even expand their energy that far to get that stuff. Like, they're tired and they want to, like, be able to go on a hike, like that kind of energy, but they also can't go on a hike because they have work, etc., etc. These are things that hit me in reality all the time. I'm like, I wish I could just go on a hike. I wish I could just have fun with my friends. I wish these things, but I can't because I have to work. I can't because of this. I have to, you're always stressing about something. And in this scenario, you would not be stressing about anything in that aspect of the real world that we live in right now. You'd be stressing about other things, of course. You're surviving in a different way. We're surviving right now trying to pay bills and stuff like that. But in that way, it would be surviving literally. Okay? You eat you eat a wrong berry, and that's it for you. You're not surviving anymore, buddy. But yeah, it's different. It's more free because there's less limits on, I guess, on what we have to do.
So yes, life might seem monotonous and boring, but I promise you it would be better than living in the world I've just described. So to all the comments that say, yeah, I'd easily survive The Walking Dead and I'd love to live in the apocalypse, I highly doubt that you actually would. I mean, main character syndrome runs rampant in many people. So yes, you might full-heartedly believe I'm different, I'd survive, and I'd be fine with the trauma.
I don't think that's true.
You probably wouldn't. I mean, do you think the people with PTSD who went into war were thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to be emotionally scarred for the rest of my life? Of course not. But it just sometimes happens, and there's nothing you can do about it.
They weren't thinking
and
that?
No,
I think that as soon as they go in there, I'm like, well, that's
human.
it for them.
So yeah, you
I'm
might
not even
become
joking.
gradually
That's just
desensitized to it all eventually.
like
but
that,
I
that
really
is a
don't
job
think it would be the
that you have to
beautiful,
be ready for,
picturesque escape from
if you know.
reality that some people might assume.
You're about to see so much crazy stuff, so much carnage, things you think.
So yeah,
you probably,
I get it.
You're not
the
a doctor.
apocalypse can look appealing, especially in the instance of the one we see portrayed in The Walking Dead. Whether it's because you want to escape from your life, strip back to basics, or feel the sense of community amongst the survivors of the show. Or even going a step further, maybe you'd find it easier to comprehend walkers as they are not sly or deceiving. You know what they want, unlike other people who can often be complicated with unique and selfish motivations. Everybody has their reasons.
Yep.
And hell, I'm not, and neither is anybody else qualified to tell you how you'd fare in the apocalypse. You might get lucky, find a good group, rebuild a small community, and live happily ever after. Because who truly knows? But in my opinion, no matter how appealing the apocalypse in The Walking Dead may feel to an individual, it's all a mirage. And if it happened in real life, not only would it be utterly devastating as billions of people would die, I also think it would be a world away from what we see in the show.
Yes.
Realistically, The Walking Dead couldn't just be 11 seasons of people being sad, crying, and having visions, because it's far too depressing to make good television. But that's ultimately what it would probably be like in reality. But hey, that's just my opinion, so please do let me know down below in the comments what you think about this topic.
A lot less drama, I think. In reality, people wouldn't be thinking about like really dumb things anymore. It would be more so thinking about like, I don't want to get ate. I wonder if they're here to kill us, etc. Something like that. It would be less, he took my soap, stuff like that, and more, I think he has a gun, like crazy things, you know?
As I've been seeing more and more of it as of late. And like I stated earlier, I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd thought about
and it would
as
be
well.
constant.
But thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, please do like and
I
subscribe, as
enjoyed
we are
it.
closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and the support I've been receiving recently has just been unreal, so thank you all again. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, that video was great. It just made me think a lot, which I enjoy when videos make me think a lot. It makes me happy. Yeah. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, any recommendations you have for me in the future that I should react to next. What do you think about any of the things I described, or any of the things described inside of this video? Tell me what you think about zombies, zombie apocalypses. Would you survive? How would you survive? Etc. etc. Are you a main character? Would you survive? Do you know if you'd survive no matter what? I, on the other hand, do not think that I would survive no matter what. I think it's more likely that I wouldn't actually follow through with my little zombie apocalypse bug out plan. It would be more like I see it, I freak the freak out, and then I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna die, you know? I'm just gonna let it happen. I'm gonna live normally like a crazy person, pretending like everything's just fine. I'm going to turn on some music in my headphones and blare out everything. I'm going to eat food. I'm going to do everything normally. Until something comes crashing through the walls, the windows, or the doors, and then I'm just gone. Because in reality, I'm not about to go out there fighting like 1,000 people at once, you know. That's not how it works. But it is a nice idea whenever, you know, you're in moments and you're thinking just, it would be nice to have freedom right now. Like, like that. When you're thinking that, it would be nice to not be bugged down and to be able to just live freely and do as we please, since this world is technically all ours. But yeah. Anyways, bye.